Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and this is my review of the Nike Reactx Rejuven8 slide. So this is literally the exact same name as the Reactx Rejuven8, but they're just saying it's a slide. So it's supposed to be the slide version of the Reactx Rejuven8, right? But as far as the price goes, it is different. These are $10 cheaper. The regular Reactx Rejuven8 retails for 70 bucks, and then the slide retails for 60 bucks, right? So that little material, I guess, is worth 10 bucks, right? So I got the slide in, I was like, oh, it's probably gonna be the exact same as the regular Reactx Rejuven8. However, it's actually very different, right? And just having it on foot and wearing them, it feels like a completely different slide, or I guess shoe, you know? So yeah, if you guys do want to cop it, try to leave in the free link in the description box. There are a lot of colorways available for the Reactx Rejuven8 slide. If you do choose to get it, it does help me out if you buy it through the free link in the description box, or try to leave a link right over here. And also my socks are available. It's called Young Hone, and I try to make a really nice all-around dual purpose sock. So like a sock you can be very comfortable in, also look good because it has a lot more padding than like a normal sock. However, it has a lot less padding than a basketball sock, because basketball socks have, or some of them at least, have a lot of padding, super duper thick. And I feel like that's too much for just casual use, so I made it a little bit thinner. So yeah, it's a very nice all-around great looking sock that you can work out in, go out in, and also hoop in. So a link to that will be in the description box as well. But let's get it started right off with the outsole, and this slide actually has an outsole, which I really like, right? So obviously for the price they better, you know what I mean, because 60 bucks, I feel like it's not crazy expensive. I feel like that's around average, but it's still like a little bit pricey, right? But they did add a rubber outsole, which is identical to the original Reactx Rejuven8, right? So we got a Nike swoosh here in the middle of the outsole. We got some rounded off squares and some circles, so yeah, as far as the grip goes, it has pretty good grip, but the main thing, of course, with a slide, especially if you're gonna be wearing them outside, is the durability, right? So foam is definitely not as durable as rubber, and yeah, if you're gonna be wearing them outside, it's gonna wear out a lot quicker, than a rubber outsole. But like I said, they are using the rubber outsole. It doesn't seem like the thickest rubber though, you know what I mean? But just the fact that they added this is really nice. It'll improve the durability, and it definitely makes the slide a little bit more worth the price in my personal opinion because of this. So yeah, good on Nike for having this. Again, it's identical to the original Reactx Rejuven8, right? And now moving on to the heel to toe transition, if you're gonna be walking around in it, for me, I want a really smooth heel to toe transition, something that kind of just like rocks forward, something really comfortable, because for example, there's some shoes, like I feel like Converse, with a very flat shape, even though it is very flexible, it just feels a little bit clunky, or even just like wearing a boot, like, Tim's or something like that. Not a huge fan of wearing them because, again, they are clunky if I'm just gonna be wearing them casually, right? But anyways, here in this slide, it feels really nice. First of all, there's a nice curve shape. It starts to curve up right over here, starting from here in the heel, and it curves up. So we got a really nice U shape, and also here in the forefoot, look at that. So extremely smooth just from the overall shape, right? It's a nice rocking motion. It's crazy curved up here in the forefoot, right? So that feels really nice, and also, it is a pretty flexible slide as well. So yeah, the overall just like heel to toe transition feels really smooth, and also with the cushioning setup, which is Reactx, obviously, it is very nice, right? So that's the main difference, of course. I mean, obviously, besides the upper, the main difference, the biggest difference in my personal opinion, is the cushioning setup, right? So they are both using Reactx, obviously, and Reactx is really nice. It's super duper soft. It has a nice bit of bounce, right? However, when I got these in, I was like, oh, it'll probably be the exact same. I wasn't super duper excited about these, But then I took it out of the box and I held it like this, right? And I was like, wait, dude, this is so thick. You know what I mean? It's honestly, I feel like it's like twice as thick as the regular Reactx Rejuven8, right? So yeah, the foam is super thick, and the Reactx is actually freaking soft, right? So especially in the heel. So as far as the overall slide goes, it is a good amount thinner here in the forefoot, and it kind of reminds me of the Hoka Aura slide, right? So it does the same thing in those slides, not as much as in this slide, but it does stand out. First of all, it does stand out here in the forefoot, right? And because it kind of curves up so much, they curved it up and thinned out the forefoot like crazy. So basically, all of your toes, and also kind of like where the ball of your foot is, starting from like right around here, it does get a lot thinner. So the forefoot is a lot more dead, a lot more stiff than the heel, which kind of sucks. That's a way different feel than the original Reactx Rejuven8 because it doesn't curve up as much and it stays pretty flat, and also it's a little bit softer for step and comfort, right? But yeah, here in the heel is just crazy. There's a crazy amount of compression. It's soft, it's comfortable, it feels like you're walking on a marshmallow, right? And all that. However, like I said, it's weird because even though this is like twice as thick, it doesn't feel as soft for the step and comfort, right? And again, I'm not heavy. I'm not super heavy. I'm like around average weight. Just walking around and just putting on the Reactx Rejuven8, the regular one, it's like softer just standing and kind of just softly walking around. For the slide, however, it feels around the same as far as like how soft the foam is. But once I really kind of like try to feel the cushion, especially in the heel, then there is more compression. And also when I start like jumping a little bit, you know, doing jumping jacks or something, or kind of start jogging, you know, I can definitely feel like there is more compression because it is a thicker foam here in the heel, of course. So it's just a way different feel, which is weird, right? Is it comfortable? Yeah, it is comfortable. It is very high up off the ground as well, which is something that I noticed is way different. And for some reason, for me, like, I would have thought, you know, court feel isn't as important, especially in like a casual shoe or like, you know, slides even, you know, but it does make a huge difference in just how it feels. You know what I mean? Like just walking around, it just feels so high up off the ground, which again, if you do want good court feel and you want something like lower to the ground and, you know, something a little bit more minimal feeling, then this obviously isn't the best option. So yeah, there is the cushioning setup there. It's obviously, you know, the upper, which is this part, this is a slide. There's no ventilation holes, which remember the I believe it was the Aura slide. There was some little slits there, like improved ventilation, but yeah, it's just one piece. And obviously we have these kind of like waves, you know, very similar to the original Reactx Rejuven8. Also, we got the Nike swoosh. It's like a 3D Nike swoosh. It's a plastic material. It's a small one as well. There's nothing here on the medial side. And just look at how crazy thick it is right here. Look at that. You know what I mean? So yeah, there is the upper, but yeah, as far as this material goes, it's around average, I would say, right? So a thick and stiff material would be like, you know, the Crocs Echo Wave. You know, those are really, really stiff, right? And also a really thin one is like the Hoka Aura slide. So the Hoka Aura slide is just so thin, kind of almost borderline flimsy and cheap feeling. This is around, you know, like average, like the middle of that, you know? So it's a little bit stiffer, but it's also able to kind of like flex. So it feels pretty nice. And as far as the overall fit goes, I went up half a size because I don't like to have my slides, you know, fit too tight, and it feels pretty dang nice. It does run a little bit long, obviously, right? So with slides, as far as the sizes go, there's only whole sizes. So if you're a size 10 and you want a snug fit, then just go a size 10, you should be fine, right? If you're like a size 10 and a half, probably I would suggest going to a size 11. It'll be a little bit long, but I feel like most people should be fine. If you want to go down half a size, it might be a little bit too snug, you know what I mean? Also, there is a raised lip as well here in the heel. So if it is small, your foot's gonna go over here. Your heel is gonna go over this. So yeah, you just kind of want it to run a little bit long if you can. Also, there is a raised lip here in the toe box as well. So yeah, that kind of like, you know, helps keep your foot in place as well, which feels nice. But yeah, I feel like most people, if you want a snug fit, then go true to size. But if you are in the half size range, then go up half a size like I did. And I feel like most people should be fine, you know? And also, as far as like this part goes, it is actually kind of snug. It's not like right on top of my foot though. So it's not super uncomfortable for me because I don't like my foot touching this material when I'm walking, you know, especially when I'm barefoot, because first of all, it gets hot and this part of my foot gets sweaty and wet, and just, I don't like it, you know, I like it a little bit more loose, you know? So yeah, I feel like I do like the looser fit. It's also probably because I did go up half a size. If I went true to size, then it probably would have been really, really snug. So that's also another reason why I feel like you should, or people should go up half a size because of that, you know what I mean? But anyways, there's that. So yeah, wrapping things up, how is this slide? It's okay, you know what I mean? It's definitely not my favorite. Definitely wish the forefoot was a lot softer and a lot better, you know, for the cushion, of course. And as far as the overall weight goes too, This slide, I don't think it's super lightweight. Yeah, it's 8.5 ounces, which is lightweight. But you know, really lightweight slides are around like 5-6 ounces, you know what I mean? So it does have a little bit of heftiness to it, you know what I mean? Especially with the cushion being so thick and you're being a little bit high up off the ground. So yeah, I feel like it's okay. You know, in my personal opinion, I definitely feel like I like the Reactx Rejuvenate, like the original, like the shoe better. This just not as nice for me, you know? So yeah, but is it comfortable? Yeah, it's still comfortable, and the heel cushion is really crazy. And obviously if you want the slide, you know, design, then this will be the better option. But I feel like, you know, with the original Reactx Rejuvenate, it's still comfortable. It feels obviously way more like a shoe. But I just like that a little bit better, you know what I mean? But anyways, that about concludes my review of the Nike Reactx Rejuvenate slide. Again, if you guys do want to copy, try to leave in the free link in the description box. But that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.